All right, and welcome back to a Raptors podcast. I am your host, as always, Lucky Roberts. After a bit of a disappointing week, we got a big win last night, though, that I'm going to talk about first because it's the most important game. A lot of big things happened throughout the week, but biggest thing, the Raptors win against the Sacramento Kings, against DeMar DeRozan coming back once again. But that was not the headline of this story. The headline of this story was the Vince Carter ceremony at halftime, where we got to see Vince Carter and his jersey brought up into the rafters, his number 15 retired forever, and just the emotion that we saw from Vince Carter was something that really stood out for me. It's very obvious that he cares about this franchise, that he cares about what these fans think of him, and it was really great to see. Obviously, I would have liked to see a bit of a better speech from Vince. He kind of just mentioned everybody except for him and his experience in Toronto and his experience with the fans and what fans want to hear. He just basically named a bunch of people who you might know and may not know and just shouted them out. But whatever. Masai had a great speech talking about half man, half amazing Vince Carter, what he means to this city, what he means to everybody, why exactly his jersey is being brought to the Raptors, because I've had arguments with some of my friends wondering, does Vince actually deserve it? Is he that lifetime changing player where you have to mention their name when you mention the Raptors story? And I do think Vince Carter is one of those people, and that's exactly why, is because you can't tell the story of the Toronto Raptors without telling the story of Vince Carter first and foremost, and the story of how he brought basketball into the limelight in this country. And the Raptors made him proud tonight, and man, was he proud. Oh my goodness. He was just bursting with joy, bursting with sadness, bursting with everything. And he had so much emotion talking and just walking out on that court for the first time. And it was amazing to see, and something I'm never going to forget as a Raptors fan, that I can say I was there. I watched Vince Carter's ceremony as he got put into the rafters. And, it was a really great game from the Raptors as well. And Vince Carter leaves such a legacy here in Toronto. I know he left, and he left a bad mark on a lot of Raptors fans, and there were some boos when he walked out there. And that tore my heart apart, and I'm sure it tore his heart even more apart, because he's coming out, this is his day, and some Raptors fans still haven't forgiven him after leaving. But that's sort of a thing. Yeah, then it wasn't as common as it is now for superstars just to pack up their bags, as you see Giannis looking to do that in Milwaukee, where he's going to get retired in Milwaukee. And even if he does pack up his bags and start phoning it in for a couple of weeks, because he has not been great this season, and the Bucks haven't been great this season, I don't think that there's going to be any love lost with the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so nowadays it's a lot more accepted, and I think fans should give Vince Carter that little bit of understanding that he was a 6-time All-Star with this team, 6-time if you count the one with the Nets when he played half the season with the Raptors, but that was the bad season. But that was the season that everybody turned on him, and he brought this team to the second round, a big game against Allen Iverson in 2001. Game 7, they lost, but he was the face of the franchise, and he was one of the faces of the league, and that is something you can't replace. And those Raptors in the early 2000s is what brought the Raptors of now and what brought the Toronto of now. And so I'm really, really, really appreciative of what Vince Carter did, and fully understand he's get his retirement in Toronto. And just thinking about future retirements, with Kawhi Leonard being a possibility, I don't think he deserves it, because he did the exact same things Vince did, but he didn't have the 6 years of built up, he just left. He never picked the Raptors. He never was a proud Raptors player, and he's not going to go into the Hall of Fame as a Raptor. So I don't think his jersey should be retired. It should be retired in San Antonio. DeMar, I think it should. And Lowry, I think it should as well. Pascal, I don't think so. I think Pascal has at the same level as a Bosch, where he was sort of, obviously he was a part of the championship team, but he wasn't the part of the championship team. And we're going to have representation for that championship with Lowry. I think he's more of a bridge player as the star player on a bridge team, not the star player on a good team. And that's the reason I don't think Siakam makes it. And he didn't have the 6 straight all-star games that Vince Carter did. So Pascal, I think, is just a tier below Lowry, DeRozan, just because they were the ones who brought on this new era of good and good play. Honestly, DeRozan might be a similar tier of player to Pascal, but I think being a part of the first real sustained success in Toronto does allow him to be put up in the rafters just because he was here for that. And you can't tell his story. You can tell the Raptors story without Siakam. I don't think you can tell it without DeRozan. I don't think you can tell it without Vince Carter. I don't know why I just blanked for a second there. But yeah, it's a really great thing to see, and it's great to see the emotions, and it's great to see the reconciliation with Vince Carter, with the Raptors franchise. So I just wanted to say that at the beginning because, it's something you can't tell the story of tonight without talking about the Vince Carter retirement celebration, and it was everything you needed it to be. The banner looks amazing. Vince Carter was emotional, and, memories for a lifetime. I can say I saw that banner go up in the rafters in Scotiabank Arena. But more on this game, the Raptors against the Sacramento Kings. The Raptors win it in overtime. It was looking like it was going to be a very similar situation to the Nuggets game that happened at the beginning of the week that I'm going to be talking about after this one. The Raptors up by 10 going into the fourth quarter, and very surprisingly, the RJ Barrett had 31, Grady Dick with 22, very good. Abaji's been really amazing for this team, but RJ Barrett down the stretch really led this team, and obviously he had his struggles. He missed 2 free throws in overtime, but when we needed a bucket, we called RJ Barrett's number. He's actually number 9, doesn't have multiple numbers. We called his number, and he delivered. I know he was a little inefficient, especially from 3, 8 for 11 from the line, but sometimes when you need a bucket, you need a guy to call to. And RJ was that for us tonight, and he was just a dog, and you could see it on his face how much he cared about winning this basketball game tonight. And he just kept on delivering with some nice finishes with his lefts and finishes through contact and ones all throughout the fourth quarter. The Raptors really, really just did exactly what they needed to hold on, even though I know some fans would be wanting them to let this one get away and take that draft capital and get another loss on our record. But I do not feel that way at all. I mean, get the wins when you can. Get these happy ones when you can, especially on a special night like yesterday was. And it was a great performance, like I said, from Abaji, who was 9 for 12, 22 points. And it was not for his finishing, which it usually is. I mean, partly it was his finishing. But he was 4 of 5 from the three-point line today, and that's the swing skill has always been that for Abaji, has been his three-point shooting, and it hasn't really come along at all throughout the course of his career. But today it did, and the threes fell, played 36 minutes, and played some great defense, some huge minutes, and hit some threes really efficient, and we love to see that from Abaji because we don't really have many other contributors. We're playing 3 rookies off the bench, 3 late first round, early second round rookies off of the bench, and Jamison Battle, who's a G Leaguer, and then Boucher off the bench, who was amazing in this game as well. Boucher, 4 of 6 threes. There was one point in the first quarter he had like 12 of the Raptors' 15 points. It was crazy. Boucher really, really let it on, especially at the beginning, and he was on the court and helped out the Raptors when Podol fouled out because he had 6 personal fouls. But I think Podol did as well as he could have. I mean, I'm saying that, and then I'm looking at Sabonis had 17, 20 rebounds and 10 assists. But at least stopping Sabonis from scoring himself. And I've been surprised with how much I've liked the minutes from Podol over the last couple of games here this week especially. And I've loved the minutes I've seen from RJ. Love the minutes I've seen from Dick and Abaji. Davion Mitchell, not as much. He's running the offense, but he does seem just a little less dynamic than Jamal Shed, who I think is going to take that step into the starting lineup at some point. Davion Mitchell is a better defender. He brings that. He has like two amazing steals, amazing strips each game, but offensively, he's not super quick on his feet. He's not great getting to the rim and finishing, and he's not a great shooter. He can pass a little bit. He can shoot a little bit. He can finish a little bit. But I think Shed has that potential defensively that Davion Mitchell has, and he has the passing potential to get even higher than Davion Mitchell, and he has the quickness, the first step to be able to finish in the lane as well that I don't think Davion Mitchell has. But I understand putting your trust in somebody who's played in the league for 4 years now. So I'm happy with Davion Mitchell for now. Had 5 steals in this one. Really, really effective. A lot of strips in this one. 5 turnovers, sorry. So you take the good with the bad. As much as he took away, he also gave away. And I guess that's why he was plus minus 0 in this game. But for the Sacramento Kings side of things, DeMar DeRozan had 33, and you can definitely tell he was there for this game. I don't know if they put that on purpose for him to be here for the Vince Carter game. Maybe they're anointing him the next one to be put in the rafters. Could be. And he really, really took it personally to, show the Raptors why he deserves to be put in the rafters. And he hit 2 threes in this one, which were surprising when they went in, especially because of how important they were. They were sort of pull up, step into it threes, and really, really took the air out of the crowd. I think one of them was a long 2 down the stretch, which could have flipped this game maybe. DeMar DeRozan showing his scoring chops, and I think it's a little bit of an awkward fit. Let me just sneeze for a second. I appreciate that. I think it's a little bit of an awkward fit with DeMar DeRozan and the Sacramento Kings because what they're able to do so well over the last couple of seasons was just play at a quick pace, have decent enough defense. Not really. They can shoot threes, they can play at a quick pace offensively, and they're going to outscore you. And DeMar DeRozan does help with that outscoring you part, but he doesn't fit with the way that they outscore you with the quick pace. He's more of a slow it down, let me just hit some tough shots in your face. And maybe in the playoff time, it's going to be different, and he's going to be able to give them some huge buckets down the stretch. He is one of the best clutch time scorers in the league because he just hits those tough ones. He can get a bucket when he needs to get one, but it's just an awkward fit in the regular season at least. And defensively, they allowed the Toronto Raptors to score 131 of them. Obviously, minus overtime, it's 120, but that's still a lot of points with this Raptors team who has barely any players. So it's they have a lot to work on defensively, but offensively, obviously, they're going to score 120 each and every game, and they're going to have a fun time doing it. Malik Monk is a guy thinking about picking up in fantasy. 21 points in this one, 4 boards, 4 assists, 3 for 7 from 3. He got a lot of shots in this one. They didn't really play a lot of guys off of the bench. They got Ellis in there. Didn't really have a good game. They have a lot of the similar type guys. Doug McDermott started the game for them. Obviously, Malik Monk, I think, filled more in that role. Played 38 minutes. McDermott with 15. But, yeah, the Sacramento Kings basically played 5 guys all game. And then had Ellis, Lyles, and McDermott fill in when they needed to. But they're going to be playing these guys a lot of minutes, and they're going to fill up the stat sheet because of that. And you had, Keegan Murray, 16 and 10 boards. You had De'Aaron Fox with 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 steals, 0 from 11 from 3, though. And that's part of the issue is all 3 of their stars aren't really three-point shooters. And it's tough in this league to win games when your 3 stars can't shoot the 3 ball. And obviously, that's something you worry about with the Raptors, with Scotty Barnes, who's still trying to grow his game in that way, and RJ Barrett, who still needs to grow his game in that way. Quickly can shoot the three, but the Raptors aren't supposed to be contending, and the Kings are, and they're 3-3, and they just lost to the Toronto Raptors without Emmanuel Quickly, without Scotty Barnes, and they had their full squad. It's quite rough. They're playing their good guys a lot of minutes, and yeah, I mean, I just will have to see if this play is sustainable. I think they're gonna have to make some move around the fringes to build some depth because I don't think it's sustainable, like I said. But the Raptors get a big win here, started out quick, and they were just able to hold on in the fourth quarter enough to get to overtime where RJ Barrett ate the game up. Grady Dick hit enough shots. Agbaji was really, really solid in overtime as well, and Boucher bringing the energy as he always does. The Raptors take their second win of the season to rise to 2-5 now. And now we talk about the very similar game to this one, the Nuggets versus the Raptors, 127-125. And this was the game that Scotty Barnes broke his orbital in his face. He's not going to be back for at least 10 more games, I think. And I think if we have Scotty Barnes in this game, we do win it. He had 21 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, 5 steals. He goes down in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter when the Raptors were leading and just trying to hold on. And you see it was Scotty Barnes' game to win. And RJ Barrett tried to be the RJ Barrett that we saw against the Kings. And he forced a couple of shots, and we had a chance to tie it down the stretch in overtime. And he takes one of the worst decisions I've ever seen him make, and he just fades at the hash for a three-pointer. It doesn't go in, obviously. And it was so frustrating. And it was just like, that is not the shot, RJ. That is never the shot. You literally have to just beat this guy off the dribble, and you have an open rim to go and at least make it a one-point game, make them miss some free throws, and get into this game the way that they got into this game, because the Raptors missed another 2 free throws down the stretch, just like they did against the Kings. And that's why the Nuggets were able to sneak into this game and win it. And you could have done the exact same thing. Instead, you decide to call your own number in a shot that you are not likely to hit and just make the wrong decision. And that's why we lost this game, as well as Scotty Barnes getting injured. And it's unfortunate because I have been really optimistic with what I've seen from this team. I was expecting a lot of last season's losses, but we've seen a lot more of this season's losses, like losing to the Denver Nuggets by 2 points, losing by the Lakers by 6 points, beating the Kings, but almost losing to the Kings by a couple of points in overtime. And they've really been feisty, and it's been actually pretty fun to watch. Even without Kelly Olynyk, Bruce Brown, IQ, Scotty Barnes, even without those guys, it's still been really exciting to watch, even though the Raptors are 2-5 and losing a lot of these games. Podol had another great game in this one, 16 points, 19 boards. He really has put together some really great performances against Jokic and against Sabonis just then, even though Jokic has 40 points, 10 rebounds. Raptors were really like, somebody else beat us. And they got just enough from Jamal Murray down the stretch, making this crazy hanging in the air scoop shot, reverse layup to tie the game, to send it into overtime, because they were not letting Jokic touch that basketball. And they got just enough from Aaron Gordon, who had a couple of tip shots in, from Brown. I don't really know how to say his name. Brown got a couple of buckets as well, and it was just enough from his supporting cast to beat the Raptors. The Nuggets now standing at 3-3. They had a really slow start. They lost to the Nets after this game from the Raptors, and it was like, what is going on in Denver? They almost lost to the Raptors without Scotty Barnes, and they just lost to the Nets. Almost lost to the Nets. I think they actually did win that game against the Nets, but they went into overtime and just beat the Nets. Almost lost to the Raptors, almost lost to the Nets, the two worst teams in the Atlantic Division. And yeah, it was a tough one to lose. I think it's one that some fans did celebrate, not me. I would love to have seen us take down the Nuggets at their full strength as it currently is. But, I'll take a strong performance from our team any single day. And it was another great performance from Agbaji with 15 points, bringing the hustle, 7 rebounds. Really love what I see from him. Mitchell had a good game as well. Didn't have any steals. 16 points, though, was efficient. Hit 3 threes. That's really important for him. 6 assists, ran the offense. Obviously, like I said, Scotty Barnes, some great stuff. Barrett didn't really have what we needed down the stretch, and it was a okay game from Grady. 15 points. Probably what we should expect to see from him. He's had some higher flying games with 30-point games back to back, I think, here in this week, but just not consistent, which is what really marks a star in this league is consistency, consistently bringing those 50-point games. And he hasn't done it, those 30-point games, and he doesn't have that yet, but at least he has the potential to hit that. And we're seeing it happen more and more consistently, which I'm love to see. His 3-point stroke is so good, and I saw something on Twitter where Grady Dicks shoots like 90% of his shots contested or something like that. Not 90%, but he shoots the most in the league contested, and he's still being decently efficient with the ball and hitting some really tough shots. And they're all, one dribble, catch and shoot, maybe, if you have the advantage, cutting to the basket, catching, cutting to the basket, and finishing through a little bit of contact, which I love to see that. But mainly those 3-point shot. That's his calling card for years and years has always been his shot, and it's hitting and it's hitting. And this was also, no, it wasn't. I lied. But it was also a good game for Mobo, and Jamal Shed as well had 8 points, 5 assists, stepped in when Mitchell couldn't be in, and almost knocked one off against the Nuggets. It was close. They just had enough down the stretch and just had that star power to win it when they needed to. As we move on to the Hornets and Raptors game, this is the most disappointing game of the week by far. We lose to the Hornets, who, did have their full repertoire of players. LaMelo Ball didn't have a particularly good game. Sad news for my fantasy. We just let Trey Mann and Caleb Martin just go off the rails. Cody Martin, my bad. Off the rails for them. 27 points for Mann, 25 for Martin. Martin really, really efficiently. I've seen some, for Mann at least, I've seen some Allen Iverson highlight packs about Trey Mann, and I'm thinking like, man, this guy is good. I am really interested in seeing what Trey Mann becomes. He's only 23, and he's really fun to watch. Hit some step-back threes, and just brings a flair that you haven't seen since the early 2000s, and it was really amazing. And obviously Nick Richards, we can't allow him to go off as they did their center, and it was a surprising loss, especially when you have the games that you got from RJ Barrett and Grady Dick. But then you have to remember there's no Scotty Barnes in this team, and you could see that really be an issue for the Raptors. It was a decent game for Agbaji. Mobo started in this one, played some decent defense, was a -9 though in his 25 minutes, and you could see Agbaji play more minutes than Mobo as the game went on. It was another decent game from Boucher. It's just you got a 30-point game from Grady Dick, really efficient, and especially getting to the line, finishing through contact in this one. Some tough twos as well. RJ Barrett, similar sort of thing. Had more threes than Grady Dick did. Had more free throws as well. 8 assists for RJ, getting downhill as he does. Tough buckets with the left hand. This one was in the Spectrum Center, 13,000 attendance. Yikes. But the Raptors do lose to the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo Ball, who didn't have a great game. It was Nick Richards, it was Trey Mann, it was Cody Martin, and it was Grant Williams, who I am just remembering now is a Charlotte Hornet. They have Seth Curry as well. Just a lot of interesting guys to see on their team, and it was these two games here in the middle. Raptors just got off to a really slow start and could never really bring it back. The Hornets just kept them at that 5-point, 7-point difference, and the Raptors could never get back into it, and they fall to 1-4. And then this Lakers game, they fall to 1-5. There was one point I walk into the living room to start watching the game, And my buddy's like, you don't want to see this game. It's 25-8 already in the first quarter. Like 5 minutes into the first quarter. It was insane the amount of points that Anthony Davis and LeBron James put up so quickly. And they're a force to be reckoned with, the Lakers, this season. It was another great game from Grady and RJ, 30 from both of them. But that's just because they're getting a bunch of shots, and they were falling in this one, but it still wasn't enough as the Raptors tried to claw back in the second half. Just was never enough, and the Lakers scored too much in the first quarter to supplant by the Raptors. Anthony Davis looks like an MVP candidate, 38 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks, 3 steals. He was everywhere defensively. Pirtle, 19 points, 12 rebounds. Still, he's letting these centers go off offensively. His defense is, I think, overstated, but offensively he's been able to get some rebounds of his own and finish through and get some offensive boards. I think he's been, as advertised, 6 offensive boards in this one, 6 assists for Pirtle as well, 3 blocks. A decent game, but you let Anthony Davis go off, and it was D'Lo as well, had an efficient game. LeBron James just still, 39, 40 years old, still doing it, still bringing it as he does. And it's really, it's discouraging. How is he still doing this? It was the last game for Bronny, who stood out there for exactly 7 seconds. He got a standing ovation because there were so many Lakers fans in the crowd. That was rough. LeBron 27 and 10. Just that's why I think last year he supplanted the GOAT conversation for me, is because he's just been able to do it for so long, and it's really gotten to a point, like obviously people just say that all the time, but it's gotten to a point with LeBron where it's just like, I actually can't ignore how long he's been doing this for, and there's actually like precedence for what Jordan was doing when he was this age, and nothing near what LeBron brings to the game. And I know obviously the scoring was different and stuff like that, but those Wizards years do not compare to these Lakers years at all, and LeBron James is still as effective as seems like he's always been, just finding new ways to be effective, and was amazing in this one. Austin Reeves got to the free throw line 14 times, just kept fouling that white boy. And yeah, the Raptors lose to the Lakers, fall to 1-5 as some fans rejoice, and the Lakers continue their impressive start to the season under JJ Redick. And yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. Raptors aren't equipped to beat teams like the Lakers or the Hornets. But we are equipped on a special night to bring our A game and just barely steal one over the Kings. And I'm happy about that win. I'm thankful for that win. And we're still in pole position to get a nice draft pick at the end of the year. So that's going to do it for this week. I know I went a bit long, but it was a special game with Vince Carter's jersey being retired, and I thought I would bring a lot of focus to that, and I didn't really bring a lot of focus to the other games, but next week I will make it all amends, I'm sure. As we look for next week's games, as I quickly pull it up on my computer, we have another game against the Nuggets. We got the Kings and Clippers. Maybe I'll talk about the Lakers game. We'll see how I split it up. But yeah, the schedule is not getting any easier. So once again, the road trip is starting. We got Nuggets, Kings, Clippers, Lakers, Bucks on this road trip, and I don't really see us winning any of them. Maybe the Bucks game, because they've just been so atrocious defensively and atrocious in general. And we'll see. We'll probably win one somehow, but it's going to be a lot of losses for this schedule. But as long as we can keep making these games entertaining and our rookies show out as they have been doing, I'm happy with that. And so that's going to do it for this Raptors podcast. I appreciate it, you guys, for listening. Follow me on Twitter if you like. You don't have to do anything. You do what you want to do. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week talking about the road trip. See if we do win more than one game. I doubt it. But yeah, I'll see you guys after in a week later, and appreciate you for listening, and long live Vince. Never underestimate the heart of a champion.